Oh man, I can't wait to play Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I've been waiting for so long for this game to come out, and I absolutely love the first one. Oh, it looks like the PC specs are a little high, but that must mean that there's a lot of content in this game. It can't possibly mean that this game is horribly unoptimized, right? Alright, I bought the game on PC, and now it's time to launch it. Oh man, I'm so excited. Oh, it crashed. Well, that's alright, you can't expect perfection. Alright, just launch it again and... oh. It crashed again. Well, that's okay. Every game has their hiccups here and there. Let's just launch it again. And it crashed. It crashed. It doesn't work. The PC port doesn't work. I paid $70 for a product that doesn't even work. And that's not the best part. The best part is they want more money. EA, you disgusting, filthy, dirty pieces of shit. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It wouldn't be an EA game if the PC part wasn't an absolute dumpster fire. And what do you know? For everyone else, the PC port of Star Wars Jedi Survivor runs like a three-legged blind dog with dysentery. For me, the game straight up doesn't even launch. Not only that, but this game has some insane PC requirements, and even then, people with high-end PCs are still having trouble running this game. Apparently, it's the people with high-end PCs' fault for the terrible port, according to the EA PR response to this whole mess. Good job, gamers. It's your fault this game sucks on PC, not their completely unreasonable deadlines and poor management. Oh no, the players are to blame for this. The execs over at EA are probably thinking to themselves, well, the PC players won't be able to call the PC port trash if they can't even play it. Touche, EA. Touche. Anyways, if you want to buy Jedi Survivor on PC, just don't. Do not give your money to EA right now until they can fix this disgusting mess of a port, because this is quite unplayable. Literally. Do not get it. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, I will be reviewing everything else about the game, and the footage you see here was captured on my PS5, and all I have to say is that this game is actually really great. Although it still suffers from some technical issues on consoles, it still overall plays pretty smoothly, and it's a shame that PC players couldn't enjoy this game to the fullest because Jedi Survivor has so much to offer here. But as I mentioned earlier, the console version does still suffer from some technical issues. The main issue is that the frame rate struggles to stay at a consistent 30 FPS, especially in areas with a lot of particle effects going on. Even in the cutscenes, the frame rate drops so much. The open world areas of Kobo or Jeddah were absolute nightmares for my PS5 to run, often dropping below 30 FPS. Like, really? Even the console port can't run at a 60 FPS, let alone at a consistent 30 FPS. Am I being nitpicky about frame rate? Yes, I sure am, because if they're gonna charge $70 to $100 for this modern AAA video game, then I expect it to at least perform to modern AAA standards. That being at least a bare minimum of 60 FPS on console. The PC port doesn't even work for me. Jedi Survivor is literally the first game I have ever refunded on Steam, and I've bought some pretty terrible games before. Even then, I still didn't refund them. So for Star Wars Jedi Survivor to be the first game that I refund on Steam says a lot about how bad the optimization is right now. But not only is the frame rate horrendous on console, but there's just a lot of graphical and visual bugs as well. A lot of the time when I'm just exploring the world, the lighting would just bug out and start flickering, and there's a lot of pop in textures that would happen when you move too quickly or when you load into an area too fast. But other than a few visual glitches, this game is surprisingly bug-free. So all that Respawn really have to do is fix the technical issues, and Jedi Survivor would be a solid game. Alright, enough about the technical issues of the game. How is the gameplay? Well, the gameplay is actually really fun. If you didn't know, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, just like the previous iteration, has gameplay that's massively inspired by the Souls games, but with a Star Wars twist to it. Unlike Dark Souls, where rolling is the main way to avoid damage, This game is a lot more akin to Sekiro because the game puts a lot more emphasis on blocking and parrying enemies. And it makes you feel like such a badass deflecting all the enemy attacks, then performing these really cool executions on them. I especially love the boss fights in the story because they provide a decently hard challenge for you to overcome while also not being too difficult like how Souls games are. There was even a boss fight where Darth Vader shows up and he was so much fun to fight. For me, he's probably one of the best fights in this game because it just strikes a good balance between difficult and fair. They were also really cinematic with a lot of visual flair to them that just made these fights so much fun. Like the giant squid neck sequence, although it wasn't really a boss fight and more of a parkour test, it still was really fun to play through. Unfortunately, not all boss fights were fun. Some of the legendary beast boss fights were actually insanely difficult to fight. I know these monsters are meant to be side content after you've got some levels under your belt, but even then, there's still a massive difficulty spike of boss fights because they just do crazy amount of damage. I was playing on Jedi Master, which is the second hardest difficulty, and the bosses were still two-shotting me, sometimes ending the fight in just a few seconds. Like this frog thing, oh my god, I hate this thing so much because half of its moves are unblockable, they do a shit ton of damage, and the hitboxes are huge, making it really difficult to dodge. This fight was so bad that I turned my difficulty down to normal, and I was still getting my ass handed to me in 3 hits. This boss was crazy hard for no reason, and when I saw that there was another boss fight with 2 of these things, I just noped the heck out of there. It even took this streamer over 20 hours to beat this fight, so it's not just me that had trouble with these guys. But I can't forget the most difficult boss of them all, the one that rivals Elden Ring's Soldier of Godric. That's right, I'm talking about the bone-crunching, spine-shivering, Avengers level super boss that has everyone quaking in their boots when they first encountered him. Rick, the door technician. Other than those insanely difficult optional side bosses, the game overall strikes a good balance between challenging and fair combat. Now what's really cool about the gameplay is this new addition to the Souls-like combat called stances, which are these different lightsaber wielding styles that massively change how you play the game. Think of these as the different weapons you can wield in Souls games. There's the single saber, the double-sided, the dual wield, the blaster, and the crossguard stances in the game, which all have their unique strengths and weaknesses that best suit the specific situations and your preferred playstyle. For example, I chose the dual wield because I value speed and damage a lot more than defense, and I use it for enemies that I always want to stay close to, like beasts. In my personal favorite, the blaster stance, which offers a more unorthodox style of melee combat where it incorporates the strongest weapon in a melee duel, a gun.
For his neutral special, he wields a gun.
I love this stance because it offers more range without sacrificing too much damage or mobility, making this stance quite versatile in group combat and 1v1s. However, I do wish that there was a reverse grip stance though. Like, come on, that would have been so badass. There's also some light RPG elements within this game, like a decently robust skill tree system for each of the stances and your force abilities. And it's not that deep of a skill tree, but there's just enough meat here so that it doesn't feel bare bones. There's a bunch of unique skills and attacks that you can unlock from the skill trees that really add some more depth to your stances and make them so much more interesting to play. And what really adds to the mix of gameplay is the massive enemy variety this game has. There are so many different enemy types that you'll come across during your playthrough, and all of them require different ways to engage with them. And the game becomes really difficult when all these enemies are thrown together against you to really test how you approach each engagement with the tools you have at your disposal. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these encounters really gave me a hard time because a lot of the normal enemy types are quite challenging on their own. Now throw 2 or 3 of them together with some ranged clone troopers and you've got yourself a difficult enemy encounter. Like Sekiro, the combat rewards you for playing patiently and attacking at the right moment. So it's vital that you learn the attack patterns of even the normal enemies if you want to succeed in this game, because they all hit hard and they will quickly overwhelm you with raw numbers if you're not patient enough. What Jedi Survivor also does really well are the vast open worlds that this game offers you. There are 6 planets in this game that you can explore, all with their own unique style and atmosphere. Although 4 of the 6 planets aren't really open world and are more linear design. But the 2 planets that are open worlds, Kobo and Jeddah, are these massive open areas with so many places to explore and discover. There are so many points of interest and little side areas that I just got lost exploring these worlds for hours and hours on end. There's also a lot of just fun side stuff to do, like the Holotactics minigame or the Jedi Trials, which are these really difficult gauntlets that really test your combat or parkour skills. And obviously, you can't have a respawn game without the copious amounts of wall running and parkour. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, but man, does Respawn really like putting wall running in their games. Anyways, as you progress throughout the game, you'll continually unlock new parkour skills that allow you to access areas of the open world that you previously weren't able to. This keeps the open worlds feeling fresh because every time you go back to Kobo or Jeddah, there'll be some new spot that you weren't able to get to before when you pass them the first time. But after unlocking a new exploration skill, it opens up so much more of the world to explore, and I just love how they've done this. And not only were these worlds interesting to explore, but they were also really beautiful as well, and the devs knew that their game was beautiful because there were so many places where you could just stop and stare out into the extremely detailed landscape and skybox. I can see why this game is 120 gigabytes now because there are just so many high quality assets here. The one problem I had with this open world, however, is that there isn't much of an incentive to go out and explore these worlds. You'll go out and explore these numerous side dungeons and secret areas, and once you beat the boss or solve all the puzzles, you'll get some loot at the end of it. But the thing is, the loot is usually just a cosmetic reward. Like, I just beat this really hard boss and I get a lightsaber skin as a reward? Yay? I know this is enough to motivate some people to explore, but for me, I need a little more than just cosmetics to really incentivize me because I'm not really the type of player that really looks for cosmetics in a single player video game. So for me, it really turned me off to exploration when I found that most of the rewards are cosmetic. At least give something that benefits the gameplay a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything big or drastic. Just give like a skill point or a health upgrade or a force meter upgrade. Something to make me feel like I got stronger because I took the time to go off the beaten path and do some optional content. And I know there are upgrades like that you can find in some places of the game, but it's not in all of them is my point. All of the loot should give you some sort of benefit to the gameplay. That's what in my opinion makes for a truly rewarding experience when it comes to side content. Now don't get me wrong, some of these cosmetics look really cool, and the customization in this game is really deep. You can customize just about everything on Cal, from his lightsaber to his hair to his clothes to even his droid. You can even change the minute details like the angle of the crossguard on your lightsaber or the material it's made out of. There are just so many things you can mess with to create your own version of Cal. So if you're a person who really loves customization, then you'll really like the amount of options that this game has to offer to you. Now I won't get too detailed about the story, but I do have to say that the story for Jedi Survivors is actually really good. Now by no means would I consider myself a Star Wars fan. I've only pretty much watched the first 6 movies and I thought they were amazing. And the Star Wars universe looked really interesting to me, and I thought, wow, I can't wait for the sequel trilogy to come out. Then I watched The Force Awakens, and I was immediately disappointed with what I saw, and I never completed the sequel trilogy to this day. That's about the extent of my experience with Star Wars. So I'm a very casual Star Wars enjoyer, and thankfully this game and the prequel are both excellent stories within the Star Wars universe. Jedi Survivor takes place 5 years later after Jedi Fallen Order with a more grizzled Cal Kestis, who's still fighting a losing war against the Empire. Here, Cal has matured a lot since the last game, and he's a lot more level-headed now. The game's plot revolves around the secret planet that's hidden from the Empire called Tanalorr, which Cal and the crew spend the entire game searching for. Now, the story itself isn't really anything new. There's a MacGuffin and we gotta go get to it before the bad guy does. You know, the usual stuff. but it still has some of the deeper moments where we see some introspection into Cal's mind and his relationship with the other crew members. It's a solid story that spans several different planets with a lot of cool set piece moments, and even has some unexpected twists to it that even I wasn't expecting. Although one sort of criticism that I have with the story is that I felt like there wasn't really a strong antagonist in this game. There were a couple of villains that could have taken that role, like Dagon Gera or Ravis, but without getting too much into spoilers, it doesn't feel like much was done with them within the story, and I felt like they were prematurely ended to make way for the plot twist to happen. But other than that, the story was an enjoyable experience, and hopefully Respawn will make a third installment to the series to finish Cal's story and give him a proper ending. Overall, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a really excellent game and a great continuation to Cal's story. The Souls-like gameplay is extremely fun with a new addition of the stances that totally change up the way you approach the wildly varied enemy encounters. The boss fights are extremely fun and cinematic. The skill trees allow for you to progress your favorite stances by allowing you to unlock more powerful moves within them. The world is stunningly beautiful and highly detailed with so many places to explore and discover. The customization is extremely deep, allowing you to change just about everything on Cal to your heart's content. And the story is just really solid. But this game isn't without some issues, like not enough incentive to explore the open world, no strong antagonist in the story, and the biggest one is the performance, especially on PC. If it weren't for the performance, I would wholeheartedly recommend this game for everyone on PC. But I literally could not play this game on mine, and I had to get the console version, which still suffers from poor performance. So to wrap up the review, I do not recommend getting this game on PC until they fix the game. But if you play on console, then I recommend that you do get this game, as it is an excellent game overall. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more reviews in the future. See ya.